The humanity. I didn't even intend to come back on here until tomorrow morning when the race kicked off, but now we have to because there's news that's breaking. Being Alex Albon has been disqualified from quali, floor irregularity, but some will point to the more egregious crime in this penalty salad, being that Sir Lewis, Carl Davidson Hamilton has received a three-place grid penalty. Look at me, I can't even talk, so raging and angry am I. Three-place grid penalty for what? Obviously, it's for the impeding of Checo Perez, but did he impede him really? Yes, he impeded him in absolute terms. Of course he did. Did he mean to? Had he earned himself a little bit of racing room by virtue of the fact that the only reason why he was there on that piece of track was because he'd just done avoiding somebody else? Of course he did. But no, as they do usually with Lewis Hamilton. Oh, the humanity indeed, king of nuts. They throw the book at him. Our guy, Sir Lewis, Carl Davidson Hamilton, man who has done so much to elevate the sport of F1. First genuine mainstream crossover superstar in the Wonder F's history. That's the dude who you smash. And I understand it if you've got a burden, if you've got an axe to grind because of all that Lewis Hamilton said in a not too distant past. As an example, have you got confidence still in Mohammed Ben Sulayem as the president of the FIA? To which Lewis Hamilton responded, what do you mean, have I still? I've never had confidence in Mohammed Ben Sulayem. Not now, not ever, nor the FIA. That's what Lewis Hamilton said. And then we reacted to it in kind this way. When you talk about the FIA, when you're so frequent and vociferous in your protest of things like homophobia and equality and diversity, none of which the FIA really believe in or have been too open and honest as far as promoting, when you speak up and out against the powers that be, the sort of thing that we're talking about in terms of regulatory capture is always going to come back to bite Lewis Hamilton when the calls are marginal. And this yet again is another case in point. This surely is your proof positive that Lewis Hamilton probably, if we're being honest and open and having a very grown-up conversation, and if the FIA is the regulatory body that we know it to be, that they might have been a bit harsh. What do you want him to do? Where do you want him to go? Where is he going to go to? He finds himself on the piece of track only seconds after having avoided one driver, having to avoid another in Checo Perez. Checo Perez screams and moans over the radio, as you would expect him to do. Brand new man, post the summer break. He's doing all sorts. He looks fit, his face is thin. This is Checo Perez, Mexican Minister of Defense settings of 2021. He's back and he's complaining, realises the political table tennis that he can play in using Lewis Hamilton. If we indeed have a common enemy, you and me, Christian Horner, if I can vilify Sir Lewis, Carl Davidson Hamilton in real time, then that will of course win me favour with the team principal that is Christian Horner. That's how I'm thinking if I'm Checo Perez, and props to him for doing it. He said in real time that I've been penalised for much less egregious impediments. Take that. Props to Checo, you did what you're supposed to do, but the FIA is supposed to be a bit kinder than that. Only a couple of hours prior, Maximilian Verstappen, he infringed on the pit lane line right. Again, it was only a minor infringement, but he got a cheeky black and white flag, a reprimand, as you would expect. It was free practice, whatever. However, now, again, it's Sir Lewis Hamilton, and front and centre of the mind for the stewards, the FIA employed stewards, will of course be agenda, etc, etc. It's techie, this visual. Outlaw, Lewis was wrong and got in Perez's way, but Outlaw, there's context, mate. You can't just take it in that. The only reason why Lewis was on the outside of that corner going so slowly was because only a couple of seconds earlier he'd just done his best to get out the way of somebody. What do you want him to do? He can't get out the way of the first without impeding the second. These are mutually exclusive. That's physically impossible. So I don't know what the FIA want him to do. They said in their official adjudication, which we will read in short order, here's what they had to say: that Lewis could have travelled a little bit slow with a view to get out of the way more of Checo Perez. That's what they had to say. And this is the FIA. It's like playing football, says Yanni, and itching about the ref the whole game. You'll pay the price. Yanni, you make the... That's what's going on here. Lewis Hamilton doesn't care about the FIA. He's not looking to curry favour nor foster rapport with them like some of the other drivers. They don't owe him any favours. And of course, if you get in the face of the referee and turn around your baseball cap and cause them grief, talk about issues that they don't want you to be talking about. If you say that you never ever had confidence in them, let alone now. If that's the way you're talking, surely at some point, if you're the FIA and the stewards, this is going to come back to bite Sir Lewis Hamilton. And I think, I fear and suspect that this is what's happening in real time as far as Sir Lewis Hamilton's concerned. Let's read out the Planet F1 article because it's techie. I'll get this in the background next time, but I'm too angry. That Lewis Hamilton given three-place grid penalty. Three-place grid penalty over Checo Perez incident. Lewis Hamilton, writes Planet F1, Thomas Mayer of, has been handed a three-place grid penalty after being found to have impeded Checo Perez doing Dutch Grand Prix qualifying. Hamilton was knocked out of Q2. I mean, if it's, you know what? Let me just address this. As if it couldn't get any worse for Sir Lewis. You know what I mean? Out in Q2, King George Russell of Kingsley Norfolk, first of his name, makes it through to Q3 again, roundly being outperformed by your mentee. I mean, you saw Lewis after qualifying as a session. He's just downtrodden, right? Just super upset. I mean, it's just like almost nonchalant, laissez-faire. He's just like, it is what it is now. Do you know what I mean? If George is going to beat me in qualifying, I'm just going to have to try and more than offset it in the race. This is the case they gave me. Nonchalant, not even cheesed off, just disappointed and upset. And then they go and give him this to add insult to injury. Planet F1 continues. Lewis Hamilton has been given a three-place grid penalty after being found to have impeded Checo Perez during the Dutch Grand Prix qualifying. Hamilton was knocked out in Q2 after failing to make the top 10 in qualifying, yada, yada, yada. It gets worse. And his Saturday got worse after the seven-time champion was summoned before the stewards. Hamilton has been trying to get out of the way of the rapidly approaching Checo Perez as the Red Bull driver was negotiating his way through a flying lap, but wasn't quite able to give quite enough room to the Mexican due to the nature of the Turn 9 exit he was driving at. The incident resulted in Perez feeling aggrieved, cost him a set of red-labelled soft compound tyres, radioing in, "What the fudge is this idiot doing? How very dare you, Checo Perez." I mean, I know you've come back. I know you've had a break. The summer break's done you well and you've come back rejuvenated. But who are you calling an effing idiot, Checo Perez? Got to speak up, you know what I mean? Sir Lewis Carl Davidson Hamilton to you, Checo Perez. That's my drive. Been following from 2006, contrary to what many cult LHers believe. Oh, Cameron, you're not a Lewis Hamilton fan. Well, talk to me about Pizzioni and PK Jr., Inter Maggots, GP2 2006. Talk to me about that. Like those who are new here, listen, welcome, come in, put your feet under the table, make yourself comfortable. This is Lewis Hamilton fanhood, genuine. How very dare cult LHs tell me that I'm not a true Lewis Hamilton fan, because I will never ever sacrifice truth and objectivity at the altar of partisanship and fanhood, not even Sir Lewis Hamilton's. However, I say all that to say this, Checo Perez, you shall put some respect on Sir Lewis Hamilton's name. Yeah, you've come back and you're in hora buena, as they say in Spain, in good form. I expect Checo Perez to go really well tomorrow, I really do. I feel like he's turned a corner. He looks well. He looks like he's been training, drinking lots of water. And I want the best for Checo, because once upon a time he was a very, very good driver. Not the best, not GOAT settings, not Mount Rushmore of F1 like a Lewis Hamilton or a Maximilian Verstappen. Not quite there, not Premier League, but championship level at least. And props to him for that. But yet and still, Checo, who are you calling an effing idiot, chap? You the one who yeeted it into the barrier when the owners of your team were watching, chap. What are you talking about? You who's been roundly out-qualified by Logan Sargent, who is in a Williams. Who are you calling an effing idiot? Do we really want to talk about effing idiot? Is that the terminology, Checo Perez, that you really want to use, given the extent and frequency of your material underperformance season today? Is that where we're going with this, Checo Perez? An effing idiot? Mate, did you see yourself in the barrier in Hungary? What were you talking about, mate? Did you see Miami last year when you put it on pole and there was no safety car and your teammate just destroyed you like he was Godzilla in Japan? just absolutely nailed you, caught you up and passed you, and finished the race with time in hand. What are we talking about, Checo Perez? Effing idiot. Listen, like, you can say that he was at fault, but effing idiot. You best look at that helmet and realise who you're talking to, chap. I'll say that honestly and earnestly. There are levels to this game, Checo Perez. When was the last time that you won a championship or 7? Huh? I'll wait. Checo Perez, what the F is this idiot doing? Behave yourself. And you knew very well that you were talking about Sir Lewis, Carl, Davidson, Hamilton to you. Put some respect on his name. Hamilton responded by saying, I was well out of his way. I did my utmost. With Perez doing another run. So, okay, so Perez's downside in this, the downside ramifications for the chap is that he no longer had himself an extra set of red labelled soft compound tyres, which he'd harboured aspirations of using to good effect in Q3. Props. But honestly, mate, I don't know, you were lucky to get into it. Not lucky, but past his prologue, chap. I don't know. Why would you need those tyres? Because you haven't been getting into Q3 talking about effing idiot. Yeah, but we wasted a set. Please put the protest in, said Checo Perez. Post for worse than, Checo further emphasising the points. Get that protest in. We need to make sure he gets a penalty. For worse than I've been penalised for, so I don't expect any less. This is Checo Perez doing one of these with his rejuvenated self. Getting in front of the stewards. This is what they need to do. Not dissimilar to what Maximilian Verstappen did. Send my regards to the stewards. Fair play. Planet F1 continues. Now Hamilton has been handed a 3-place grid penalty for impeding Checo Perez, which would have seen him drop to 15th come lights out on Sunday at Zandvoort before rise to 14th after Alex Albon's disqualification from qualifying moments later for running with an illegal floor body. We'll get to that, I promise you, because that's the other breaking news at 1:30. Oh, the humanity. As if one could let us sleep, let us relax for a little bit. Do you know what I mean? We've got a race tomorrow. In their assessment, continues Planet F1, of the incident that led to the penalty, the stewards wrote in their verdict, whilst there has been appropriate warning. Okay, so you got warning over the radio from Bono. Okay, so you can't use that as an excuse. Whilst there had been appropriate warning by the team, and albeit the driver, Hamilton, tried to move out the way, he could have slowed down more in order to not impede the other car and therefore consider the impeding to be unnecessary in the sense of the regulations. Speaking to the media, Hamilton later said that he'd done his utmost to get out of Checo Perez's way, that the session hadn't been ideal, that it had been difficult after qualifying in 12th. Not getting through to Q3 again. I think this is the 3rd time this season to date. Oh, the humanity. I did absolutely my best to get out of the way as far as possible. Just didn't work. And again, why didn't it work? Well, it didn't work for Lewis because he just finished getting out of the way of somebody else. That's why he was even on that part of the track on the outside of turn 9. Look, I'm reminded, you will recall when Max and Lewis had their cheeky coming together, cheeky entanglement a couple of races ago. The stewards adjudicated thus that Lewis Hamilton could have done more to avoid causing the collision. I won't even get into it. There is such a thing as regulatory capture. There is such a thing as agenda. And ultimately, as far as the FIA stewards are concerned, all drivers are created equally, but some are created more equal than others. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Lest we forget when Lewis Hamilton tried to traverse the track and they said that they were going to give him a $50,000 fine. Why? Why were they making an example out of him? Well, in the FIA statement, they said of Lewis Hamilton, they need to make an example of him. So high profile is Lewis Hamilton, number 44, as they refer to him as a driver. What are we doing here? Consistently inconsistent, any. But I digress. Prosecution rests. FIA, no further questions, Your Honour. Oh, and by the way, Alex Albon has been disqualified. Why? Well, but irregularities with his flooring. Oh, the humanity. Planet F1 once again writes, Williams racing driver Alex Albon has been officially disqualified from the Dutch Grand Prix qualifying session over a technical infringement regarding an illegal floor. The FIA has found the floor of car number 23, in the name of Michael Jordan, of course, has been found to lie outside the regulatory volume mentioned in FIA regulations. What does that even mean? I have no idea. Are they talking about dimensions, density? What's going on there? Soon after the checkered flag flew for Q3 at the Dutch Grand Prix, Williams driver Alex Albon found his impressive P8 starting position threatened by an investigation into whether or not the car was actually legal. At 19:55 hours local time in Zandvoort, the FIA technical delegates found that the floor of the car 23 was in breach of Article 3.5.1 of the FIA Formula 1 technical regulations. What technical regulations are we talking? Honestly, the FIA. The FIA, come on, what are we doing here? Honestly, the stewards have since determined Albon should be disqualified. Planet F1 continues. The particular piece of legislation relates to the floor and states the floor body must lie within RV floor body, with RV meaning regulatory volume. Are they talking about width and breadth and depth? Is that what they're saying? The team did not dispute the calibration of the FIA measuring system, which is usually the only thing that they can dispute, and the measurement of the car, but stated that their own measurement had produced different results. The FIA ruling read. This is techie, isn't it? I don't even know. We just like, what are we doing? Bernie Eccleston always said that the result needs to be the result, and by the time the checkered flag is waved, whether it's the race or qualifying, that needs to be it. Can't be bombarding F1 fans all over the world with additional news, rectifying this. Remember when Lewis Hamilton put it on pole, but then it was Lando, and then it was Lewis, and then it was Lando again, because there was a track infringement and they chalked off Lando's lap, but they shouldn't have chalked it off because there was no material advantage to be gained, but they hadn't disabled the system. And then what are we doing? This is what Bernie Eccleston didn't want, because it's nonsensical. When I turn off my TV, I need to know who's going to be on pole tomorrow. I need to know the order, and I need to be able to take that to the bank. Otherwise, this is how you rapidly lose. It's integrity, isn't it? It's integrity. When I've turned off my TV, I should know what the final result is. And now Alex Albon's moved. Lewis Hamilton's got a penalty. What's going on? All this retroactive stuff. I'm not interested in it. And again, I think the FIA and the sport more broadly loses itself integrity. What NFL game are you going to watch and then half an hour after the final ball's been kicked or the final touchdown's been scored? Is the score going to change? It doesn't happen. Needs to be a sense of finality, but I understand that motorsport is more technical and more complicated and that infinitely more shades of grey involved, and that's true, but yet and still this isn't good enough from the FIA and the FOM in turn, because again they're the ones who harbour aspirations of growing the sport into new demographics, new territories, and they're going to look at this and be like, what, Lewis Hamilton 15th, 14th, what's going on? Alex Albon disqualified, now starting from the pits from the back, what's going on? He was on P8. This makes no sense. Make it make sense. FOM and FIA, Planet F1 continues. That being said, the stewards will be offering greater relevance, wrong word I think, to the FIA measuring system available in part firmware. As such, number 23 has been disqualified from qualifying. That renders him as actively having set no time in that session, and as such he will start the race from the rear of the field. Go on then, why is he still starting the race? If he's disqualified, then he's disqualified from all sessions. What, just disqualified from quali? Are they going to reset the floor in time to be running a legal floor tomorrow? Make this make sense. You know what I mean? Square this F1 circle for me, FIA. Just nonsense. I'm reading through. I've been watching this sport as long as I can remember. Nearly 30-something years. Do you know what I mean? And I can't make sense of this. P8 now starting from the pits or last. Why is he starting at all? It just makes no sense. Reading this again via Planet F1, all other cars will move at one position. It also provides a bump to Albon's teammate Logan Sargent after a crash in FP3 caused so much damage that Williams were unable to repair the car in time for qualifying. A statement released by Williams on social media said the following. Unfortunately, Alex Albon has been disqualified from qualifying today due to his floor body being outside the regulatory volume as set by the FIA, the regulatory body of the one that Fs. We are incredibly disappointed with this outcome and will be carrying out a thorough investigation and will provide an update soon. Yeah, of course you will. It's techie. Watch Wex, says Michael. Mate, I'm going to have to start watching something else, because surely anything else at this stage, it has to be clearer and more concise, more definitive. When the checkered flag is waved, that needs to be it. If Alex Albon has dropped it in P8 and you haven't scrutineered the car before, then he's in P8. You know what I mean? If Lewis Hamilton has desperately tried to get out of the way of one car only to find himself therefore therein impeding another car, then give him some racing room, surely. Extend him some grace. Therefore, didn't do it on purpose. Yeah, could he have slowed down a little bit? But you know what I mean? Three place grid penalty for that is the punitive punishment commensurate with the crime. I would argue not, but we understand the FIA equation now. Again, for the avoidance of doubt, if Lewis Hamilton's going to say all that jive stuff, if he's going to come out and say that he no longer, nor has he ever had confidence in the FIA head in Mohammed bin Sulayem, if he's going to make diversity and equality his first order priority, these are all at odds with the FIA's agenda, with who owns them now, their key stakeholders, the head of the part of the world that he comes from, and what they consider first order priorities as far as diversity and inclusion. Equality, sometimes, some say in some territories, is made equal. But not all. Not in all territories, not equally. 1984 settings, and I think this is politics. We want our F1 pure and simple. The fastest from A to B needs to be the first order priority, not all of this politics. But again, I don't know. Am I expecting Santa Claus to come down the chimney and deliver my Christmas presents this year? Nobody's that naive, right? And maybe Lewis Hamilton, Sir Lewis Carl Davidson Hamilton, shouldn't be either. Maybe this is regulatory capture. Maybe this is just the regulatory chickens coming home to roost. What are we doing here?